Am I the asshole for not letting a coworker move in with me when she might become homeless? I, 32F, live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. Recently a coworker, let's call them Allie, has been coming to my supervisor to talk and visit almost every shift. They've been talking about how Allie has had a downturn in job performance and might be laid off soon if things don't improve. Allie is nice and outgoing but not reliable when it comes to office work. The past couple of days my supervisor has been very interested in my living situation. Always asking how the area is, how I decorate my space, and how my relationship is with the property management. They have even started making comments about how lucky I am to live alone and how important community is. Yesterday after Allie's usual gossip visit, my supervisor messaged me on the company chat asking if I knew of any open apartments that Allie could rent for cheap. When I told them that there are only a few apartments in my building and they are all occupied, they asked me to come over to their desk for a talk. It turns out that Allie's current roommates are breaking lease and she needs a place to stay. For over a half an hour they went on about how I could let her live with me and how good it would be to carpool, split expenses, and have company at home. I tried to keep the shocked look off my face as I told them I felt for Allie and her situation, but that I want to live alone and that my lease doesn't allow sublets. My supervisor got visibly upset by this and kept pushing how we need to take care of our own and I have all this space that I could surely share for a while. I repeated that I am not looking for a roommate and left to get back to work. Not long after Allie walked past looking very upset and got into a whispered argument with my supervisor before storming off. Ever since then several coworkers have started giving me the side eye and water cooler talk quickly turns to how we are a family culture here and how nice it is to work with caring people. So am I the asshole for not taking in a coworker I don't really know when they might get fired soon? Not the asshole. If they're so upset, she can move in with one of them. It's easy to be generous with other people's space, time, and money. They can all put up or shut up. Not the asshole. She sounds like the sort of person who would stay forever, not clean up after herself, eat all your food, and never pay rent. In addition, her needing a place to live has nothing to do with you, and you are not responsible for making sure she has a roof over her head. In addition, your supervisor is way out of line on this one. I would document everything, and then contact our. You could hold onto the document and do nothing else right now, too. I would also tell your coworkers that if they're so concerned about the family culture, they should ask her to move into their homes. Not the asshole, but I'd go to HR. Not appropriate from your supervisor. Not the asshole. Your boss massively overstepped in even asking you that. If she feels so bad for Allie, then she can offer her own couch for her to stay on. So can all of the side-eyeing, water cooler gossiping coworkers. Not the asshole. You don't have all that space, you live in a one-bedroom apartment. And if she's not reliable when it comes to office work, then what makes you think she'd reliably pitch in for her half of the bills? Beyond that, you'd be breaking the terms of your lease, which is a legal contract. Whoever is telling you to take care of your own should practice what they preach. Ask them why they don't allow her to live with them. Your space isn't meant to be shared with a roommate. It's a one-bedroom apartment for goodness sake. Not the asshole. Why does your supervisor think she has any right to say what should happen in your home? If she feels that bad for the girl, then she should let her stay with her. If your company is so big on family, why aren't they all lining up to offer her somewhere until she sorts her shit out? Am I the asshole for leaving on my honeymoon the day after my brother's wedding? So my wife and I got married during the early days of COVID. We couldn't go on our honeymoon due to the lockdown, so we put it on hold. We've been married for more than a year now. My older brother got engaged during COVID and is having their ceremony this year. Due to the nature of my job, I can only take leave twice a year. I'm a doctor and work most weekends and am quite burnt out, so we decided to book a relaxing honeymoon overseas at a resort. Due to the leave issue, I booked the trip for the day after my brother's wedding, which was my last available leave for the year. My wife told me I should probably speak to my brother first before we book in case they have any issues. I spoke to my parents and brother and everyone understood, so I thought it would be fine. Here's when things started to get weird. 2 months before the wedding and trip, I was on a call with my parents. I mentioned booking the trip and they asked what trip. I told them the honeymoon I'm leaving to after the wedding. Then they said, "You're going on a trip right after the wedding?" That was weird because I know I spoke to them about this. The next day I get a call from my brother asking me whether I booked a honeymoon the day after his wedding. I told him I did and he seemed quite upset. He said, won't this take away attention from their special day and can't I do it some other time? I told him we spoke about this and he said he was fine. Also, I have no other time in the year where this is possible. He said he remembers now about the conversation but he only really processed it now. So I don't know. It seems like everyone is so quick to give advice but not really listen to what you are saying. I don't think anyone here is a bad person, it's just frustrating that we took the time to speak to people but it's obvious they weren't really paying attention. Now I'm feeling guilty about my trip. People don't seem to understand that working in a hospital is very different to an office job. I can't just take leave whenever I want and the environment is incredibly stressful. Edit. Due to the cost of the wedding they won't be going on a honeymoon straight away. Probably delayed for a while until they can save up. But we have also been saving since our wedding, which is why we have chosen to go overseas to this resort. So am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You spoke to them, your brother even mentioned remembering it, and all was fine. It's not your fault he didn't process it at the time, not that I'm sure what there even is to process. You're leaving the next day? How is that going to detract from his wedding day? I am having trouble understanding how you're leaving for your honeymoon after your brother's wedding is a problem. Not the asshole. Won't this take away attention from their special day? I hear the groom's brother and his wife are going on vacation tomorrow. What? OMG, tell me more. Now I completely stopped caring about the stupid wedding. Let's just walk out in the middle of the ceremony so we can talk more about the brother's vacation. Conversations that are inevitably bound to happen. Not the asshole. Unless you go round telling everybody you are leaving for your honeymoon and how much of a great time you are going to have, you are not taking the spotlight. He is having his wedding, be the start of the show, and then you disappear for some time to spend time with your wife. Unless you are hiding the fact you will be in the same resort as your brother and will be shadowing them the entire time. Or spending his wedding dressed as a Speedo because you can't wait to go on vacation. Not the asshole. Your family is weird. You aren't leaving on the day of the wedding, you are leaving after the wedding has concluded. The happy couple gets one day, no more, no less. It's back to reality the day after. He doesn't own you for the entire weekend or an entire summer or an entire year. Takes a lot of outsized entitlement, especially considering the circumstances around your delayed honeymoon, to make this big a deal out of a nothing burger. Tell them to stop seeing marital bliss and honeymoons as a zero-sum game. There has to be more to this. Are you going on a fancier honeymoon than your brother? Info. Why does your wife and your family think anyone would notice or care if you went on vacation after the wedding? I honestly don't understand why it would matter. Am I the asshole for telling my cousin to give her daughter her own bedroom? I, 25F, have a cousin, 34F, Rose, who is a small-time influencer on Instagram. She has over 10,000 followers for her fashion, lifestyle, and artistic posts where she usually poses in photo shoots. This is not her main source of income, but a hobby she does in her spare time. 3 years ago, Rose gave birth to my niece, Daisy, 3F, who she adores, and they currently co-sleep in the same room. Rose currently lives in a nice 2-bedroom home, where the second bedroom had been converted into her Instagram photoshoot room, where she takes her pictures and stuff. Last week, when I visited her home, I asked her when Daisy would be moving into the second bedroom so that she could get her own space. Rose laughed at me, and said that Daisy would sleep in her and her husband's room forever because the second bedroom is reserved for her Instagram room. I told her that maybe this would pose to be an issue because as Daisy grows up, she might need her own space to grow and might need a place for her own private thoughts. Rose then told me that if she gave up her Instagram room then her influencer life would be over and said I should just mind my own business as Daisy is not my child. She and her husband are currently trying for baby number 2 and I feel really bad for Daisy as she's gonna have to be squished in a bed with her mom, dad, and a brand new baby. But maybe I did overstep. Am I being one of those people who tell others how to raise their kids? Am I the asshole? Assuming you told her once, then not the asshole. But just once. And be friends with Daisy. As she grows up, she's going to need someone to confide in. Am I being one of those people who tell others how to raise their kids? No, you're being one of those people who have common sense. I don't think you overstepped at all. Hopefully you gave her some points to think about. They could be things she hadn't even considered. I can't see for a minute why you'd need a whole room to do IG posts or why her IG life would be over without it. That's ridiculous. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. So let me just get it clear. Your cousin is actively trying for a baby while her 3-year-old sleeps nearby, If not in the same bed, all while having a whole room for a hobby? Not the asshole. While it might be appropriate for Daisy to sleep in the parents' room as a young child, that cannot last forever, especially if another baby is going to be in the mix. Being forced to wake up because the baby is crying at night will do damage to Daisy. Usually, I'd tell you to butt out, but Rose is unbalanced. Not the asshole. NTA. Wonder how her followers would feel if they know her child doesn't have a bedroom cause she prioritizes social media. That's embarrassing as fuck. Am I the asshole for serving fake meat and pretending it was real? My 2 daughters are vegetarian but my husband and son are not. I'm probably what they would call a flexitarian. My son and husband always turn up their noses at tofu or any other meat alternatives. They say it's just weird that it's made to resemble real meat, so it's really the concept and not the taste. There are no allergies. My family and I often make 2 versions of dinner, 1 meat, 1 real, and twice the amount of pots and pans. There is an equal distribution of cleaning and cooking in this house, thankfully. My daughters had a fun prank idea of making 2 pots of spaghetti sauce, under the pretense that one was meat. They were both the soy ground beef. The goal here was to see if their brother and father actually hated the meat and to see if we could maybe save some dishes and time, in the future. Everyone loved dinner. Both husband and son finished their plates. This was when my youngest couldn't hold it in anymore and told them. They both got very upset about being fed something other than what they were told. Reddit, am I the asshole? This is not really a meat-eater, vegetarian issue. Tricking someone into eating something other than what they thought they were eating is a massive breach of trust. The fact that the substitution is harmless is irrelevant. That your aim was clearly to shame or embarrass them over their dietary preferences does not help. Would it really be that different if they cooked meat and fed it to your daughters, telling them it was soy? You are the asshole. I think it would have been better if you made a bet with them beforehand to try and see which one is real meat. This way you would have had their consent. Then you could have made both non-meat and been like, haha, it's a prank. But yay, they also just seem insecure. They weren't able to tell the difference and reacted immaturely. People react badly when they are forced to confront the idea they were wrong. Hands clapping. Stop comparing what AITA did with feeding meat to vegetarians. Hands clapping, it is not the same at all. Father and son eat vegetables, vegetarians don't eat meat. Plus eating animal, aka things that were alive and sentient, are way different than eating plants, things that were never sentient, never felt pain. It is not comparable. AITA may be an asshole, but it is absolutely not the same as if her husband was feeding her and her daughters meat. Edit. As AITA said she is flexitarian, I edit my reply to add the daughters as well, as I'm talking about giving meat to vegetarians. Everyone sucks here. Your son and husband are being ridiculous, but you should never mess with people's food. Besides, when was the last time doing a gotcha had a positive outcome? You are the asshole. While I agree that their snooty attitude about meat substitutes is silly, it is always an asshole move to lie about a person's food. I imagine your daughters would be livid if their father or brother sneaked meat into their meal to prove a point. And they would be justified. YTA, I'm a vegetarian and I still think this is wrong. Don't mess with people's food. No matter if you think you're right. Doesn't matter if you are right. Don't mess with people's food, it's unacceptable.